I'm Julie Curtis. I'm happy to welcome you to our demonstration webinar this morning. We are going to be talking about our new Pressbooks Accessibility Authoring Tool, and we'll see a demonstration of that. I'm joined today by Steele Wagstaff, our customer experience lead, and also John McLeod, who is our head of sales and account management. And I'm Julie Curtis. I lead our customer-facing team at Pressbooks. I want to do just a little bit of framing for the tool that we're going to be sharing with you today. So Pressbooks is in the process of introducing a new set of tools that we call the Content Readiness Toolkit. And this is a set of add-on tools that are designed to make it easier for authors to ensure that their content is ready to publish, in particular, improving the quality of accessibility so that it's suitable for all users and basically focusing on areas that authors do have the ability to adjust as they're thinking about accessibility. And then also another aspect of this tool set is a broken link checker tool to be able to easily find any links that might not be working so that those can get addressed before you start using it with students. So just a little bit of context about these tools. So these are things that we've had a lot of requests for over the past, well, I think for as long as I've been at Pressbooks, certainly, and longer than that, I think as long as Steele has been at Pressbooks. There have been a lot of requests to help make these kinds of things more user-friendly for building accessibility, finding things that need attention. And there are also things that I think many of you participated in our customer satisfaction surveys over the last couple of years, where we've also asked for your input on, of all the things Pressbooks could focus on, what are the things that you would find most beneficial? And last year, the things to help us with accessibility, things to help us with broken links, both were some of the top ranking items. And so we've done a lot of research and exploration about how to do these things, and made the decision to go ahead and introduce them as a content readiness toolkit. For the two accessibility tools, one of the things we've done is we are looking at we did some research around the existing accessibility checker tools and talked to a lot of you about the kinds of things you were working on with and what you were finding value in. And we ended up choosing to integrate editorially. To do that, though, we needed to engage the editorially creator to do some additional work with those tools to make them work well inside of Pressbooks. And also looking at how do we support and maintain those over time. In doing something similar, Broken Link Checker is something that we've built internally. It's not something we could simply embed an existing tool. And with that, we're also looking at how do we make these tools both available, affordable, and sustainable for our customer base. And so we decided that the right thing to do would be to have them be add-on tools so that if people find value in them, we are looking at very affordable pricing. We'll talk a little bit about that later on for how to make these things useful and available to you if you find value in them. We know there are some organizations that already use and pay for other kinds of tools and don't need to do something like this. And so we wanted to be sensitive to that dimension for our customers and make common sense choices there. So with that, we have now available the Accessibility Authoring Tool. We have a free trial happening now, so people can try that out and see if it's valuable and see if it's something that they want to continue with. This is a tool designed for authors to use as they are building content. The way that it functions is when somebody is editing a page, there are flags to cue them in if there's adjustments that they should make in order to improve the accessibility. So we'll see how that works in just a moment. The accessibility monitoring tool works differently. So it has similar accessibility checking features, but it's a tool that we're designing to actually work and do kind of a background scan. So you don't have to open up every single page in order to have that accessibility check happen, which is how editorially works and how the accessibility authoring tool works. And so the accessibility monitoring tool is something, whether you're an author who's already published a number of books and you want to do a check to make sure that they're in good shape, or if you're a network manager and you're managing a body of content and you want to do that check on a set of resources that are in use. That becomes a tool where you can do background scans and it will deliver those reports, and you can use that to make decisions about how to prioritize the accessibility work that might need to happen. And then the broken link checker is also one that will have a background scan capability to easily find and check things, so you don't have to go up on every page and check on that. So we are ready to show you the accessibility authoring tool. And as we have these additional tools available, we will similarly have opportunities for folks to try those out and see how they work and make a decision about whether these are features and capabilities that you'd like to bring into your network as well. With that, I'm going to turn things over to Steele.
Thank you, Julie. I'm going to share my screen and I want to talk very briefly about the underlying technology that's powering the accessibility checking tools in Pressbooks. It is an open source tool called Editorially that was developed largely by John Jameson at Princeton University. And there's a couple of principles to bear in mind about what Editorially is and how it works in Pressbooks. So I'm going to share this link in the chat, and then I'll share my screen and kind of just talk through a couple of basic principles to understand before we see the tool in action. The first is the philosophy of Editorially is that it's built for authors, and its intention is to try to keep things simple and couch them in ways that authors or regular content creators can understand. So it will show the results inline. It exclusively checks for issues that a content author can fix. It will only flag things that someone can actually do something about from the visual editor or from within the Pressbooks interface. And it will check the fully rendered content, by which we mean the actual content that displays in the reading interface for readers or people that would experience that content. It's not an overlay, it doesn't modify your content, but it provides author-facing tools to help creators find and fix common accessibility issues. There's a whole bunch of checks and tests that it runs, and you can see the kinds of checks and tests that are described here. There's two types of checks, automatic checks and manual checks. And manual checks are things where it says, hey, we aren't 100% sure whether this is correct, but it's something that you may want to go and look into further. You can hide or dismiss the manual checks once you've performed them. And then the automatic checks are things that are definite problems that you can only hide those if you're a site administrator, but generally you'd want to fix them. The kinds of things that it will check for are page structure issues, headings, tables, document headings, skipped heading levels, very long headings, etc. And then it will also check for alt text for images and media, as well as video embeds and other kinds of content. It will also check your links to make sure they meaningfully describe where they go, and there's a series of checks that it runs on links, as well as some visual-only formatting decisions that people make that have accessibility consequences. What it doesn't flag, it will not flag design issues or development issues that authors generally have no ability to influence or control. So it's designed to work alongside of other tools. Our responsibility at Pressbooks is to make sure that the development environment and the design choices are consistent with with WCAG guidelines and standards, and we try to do that. And the content creator's responsibility is to make sure that the content they publish also conforms with WCAG guidelines. So with that, I'll just show you, here's a sample book that I have that I want to show editorially. Right now, I'm not logged in. So when I view this book content, I just see the content as normal. Editorially is active in this book, but to the reader, nothing appears out of the ordinary. However, I'm going to log in. Once I log in as an admin user in this book, or an author or an editor, I will see a new interface appear. And you'll notice in the bottom right, this small toolbar appears here in the bottom right. This is the editorially integration. This is the content checker. And there's kind of four components to this that I'll give a tour of. The first one is I can check for headings and alt text in this chapter by clicking this button. And what we'll now see is it's now made all of the headings in this book visible to me. And I can see a mapping, a heading outline for this book. So here's my first H1, another H1. There's the H1 called background. What is an OER? What is not an OER? Benefits of using OERs. And then you can see there's H2s and H3s. If I wanted to jump down to it, this kind of lets me navigate and see, okay, visually indicator. I can see all of the heading structure in this book and check whether it makes sense to me just at a glance. You also have a tool that lets you view all the alt text for every image in the book. So for example, here's an image here, here's the alt text. It's long alt text, but it's there. So that's how you can view the headings and the alt text for your book. You can also turn these off. Like right now it's showing me a series of alerts, but if I wanted to, I could just say, I don't like seeing them, they're turned off now. I can turn them back on by clicking that button. But the most important thing is actually working through the alerts here. So let's go to the first alert. The first alert in this book here is a manual check. It's asking me, is this video accurately captioned? What it's trying to do editorially in every case is to provide plain text descriptions in natural language that an author could understand and interpret, rather than sometimes arcane WCAG guidelines. This does in fact correspond to a WCAG guideline, but rather than presenting the language of the WCAG and the specific 2 point whatever, 1.3.7, what it's going to tell the author is, let's do a manual check. Videos should provide captions. And then it gives you some context. Like if it's a machine-generated caption, you probably should proofread it. And speaker identifications should be added before being considered an equal alternative. So what I would need to do for this particular issue is open up the video and see, does it in fact have captions?
Often faced with challenges. Resources tend to be limited.
In this case, I'll say, yeah, there are captions, and let's pretend that I did deeper due diligence and say, yep, there are captions and they're accurately captioned and done correctly. So I'm going to say I manually mark this issue as okay. Now that I mark it as okay, the number just went down to 10, and this issue has been resolved and marked as okay. Editorially, we'll keep track of that resolution, and I can go ahead and move on to my next one. Here's the next one. I've got a link here, and it's saying, is this actually a URL? It looks like a URL. Your link should be meaningful and concise, and here's some suggestions for how to do this. I'm going to mark this one as ignored because I believe that it's being done because it's a footnote, and a footnote's supposed to follow that format. So I'll say mark that one as ignored. I'll go to the next one and I'll say, is the linked document accessible? There's a PDF. Is this PDF accessible? I don't know until I open it. So I'd have to open it, and then I could go ahead and resolve that. And then you can work forward through each of the different alerts. So let's come to a situation where I have something that I want to change. In this case, this link was set up to open in a new window. Why? I don't need to open a link in a new window. That can be confusing, especially because it's not being announced to the user of assistive technology. So rather than marking this one as ignored or okay, what I want to do is to go into my editor and change that particular. So I'll now click Edit and open up the Pressbooks editor. The editorially tool will also appear in your visual editor. And what you can do is you can move through just like you could in the page view and find the link that you want to adjust. So here it's telling me readers can always choose to open a link in a new window. When a link forces you to open a new window, it can be confusing and annoying. Oh, great, it's educated me. How do I fix this one? To set this link back to its default target, or add a screen reader accessible warning, a text or an icon with alt text. Okay, nice. So in this case, I'm going to take this link here and I'm going to edit the link. And I'll click link options and I'll say, oh, I clicked the button that says open this in a new tab. I can do one of two things. I can say something like opens in a new tab to inform people that that link opens in a new tab, or maybe even better for this next link, we'll do the same thing. We're going to click edit, we're going to click link options, and we're going to unclick the option that says, I don't need to open that link in a new tab. I'll let the user choose to do that so I don't produce unexpected results for people using assistive technology. And then I'll click update. In this case, both of those issues have now been resolved. This one because I had opens in a new tab, and this one because I removed it I stopped it from opening in a new tab. I can now click save, and you'll see my number of alerts has just diminished or gone down by 1. I'm going to find a really messy chapter that I brought in on purpose that has a ton of issues and show you kind of what that looks like as you work through. So here you can see that it's red rather than yellow, and red means it has a lot of actual real issues, not just manual checks. The first one here, there's a really long heading, and it's telling me heading should be brief and clear. Okay, you're right. That is a very long heading. I should probably take care of that. The second one, this is a block quote, but I've marked it as headings. Okay, I get to go take care of that. This image has no alt text. That's a really common issue where you've added an image, but you haven't added a description of the image for someone who can't see the image. So let's go ahead and go into this chapter and start fixing some of these issues here. The first one, again, I'll come back to this first alert and I'll jump down and say that's a very long heading. All right, so I will make this a much shorter heading. Rewriting it. And then if I want to, I could just make this plain text below. And I've fixed that issue. Let's go on to the next. Is this a block quote? It says not a block quote. It's a suspiciously short block quote. Maybe it should have been a heading. Okay, so that was an H3. This one probably should not be a block quote. It should become an H4. There we go. This one doesn't have any alt text. In Pressbooks, we're going to click edit, and we're going to say, oh, there is no alt text. So I will say it's a green smiley face holding an under construction sign. That's my alt text. Once I've added it, that alert has gone away. I've now written a written description of what that image contains visually and so forth. So hopefully you're seeing the kind of principle or the idea is editorially now integrated with Pressbooks is integrated in two ways. One, it's integrated into the reading interface. It will only appear if you are a logged in user and you are logged in and viewing content in the book. It also appears in the visual editor. And this is probably where it's going to be most useful to most authors most of the time. Even as I'm creating a book, if I go in here and I enter a heading out of order, even like if I were to do this and say, let's make this an H6 right now, immediately when doing it, editorially runs this check and say, did you skip a heading level? I think you might have. And so I'm going to check this manually. That was an H2 up above. This is an H6, and that's an H3. Yes, in fact, I did. That probably should have been an H3. And so I fixed that issue. So hopefully these alerts will help people, even as they go, prevent and fix common accessibility issues. And that will be something that your authors build into their workflow as they're creating new work or as they're updating and revising existing books. That's the kind of high-level demo of what the editorially tool is, how it works in the reading interface, and also how it works in the editor interface. There's one other thing that editorially adds to your book, which is a dashboard. So if I were to come into my dashboard over here and click the editorially link, what I will see is essentially a log of all of the issues that editorially has detected. So here are all the recent issues, when it detected it, what page it detected it on, the URL, and the type of issue, as well as how many of that type of issue it found on that page. And then it tells you these are all on published pages. So if I wanted to, I could sort this by count and say, oh, wow. Oh, sorry, for a second there, I had to count. On the repositories and search tools page, I am opening a new window 33 times. That might be a high priority thing to go fix. I think I just did that, opening a new tab too much on that page. If I scroll down, I could also say, which pages have the highest number of issues? This helps you prioritize where do I want to go to fix accessibility issues first. This is the page I want to start with. And then I want to go to the licensing page and then work down the list. Or I could also say, what issues are the most common issues that I've flagged in this book? This can be really helpful if you want to educate an author or a group of authors about the kinds of things that they could just be generally aware of in the future when improving their book. So for example, in this case, opening a new window and making links into a URL are the most common issues. Those are really easy to address and really easy to fix. So here, if I were to click this, it would tell me, here are all of the issues that are of this type, where they take place and where they were detected. And so you can see, okay, it's mainly happening, it's happening actually all across the book, but it's happening most often in this repositories and search tools chapter and the licensing chapter. So if I wanted to talk to those authors, I'd say, hey, here's a quick thing. I could record a 5-minute or 5-second video of how to resolve that issue. Here's what we recommend doing going forward if they were struggling or didn't know how to fix that problem. If I go back to all issues, you can then see at the bottom of this, in addition to the issues by page and issue types, there's also going to be a recent dismissals. This is keeping track of any time someone did a manual check and dismissed the issue as either okay or as to be ignored. So here I'm seeing Steele, this is me, I'm actually user 41, has marked this issue to be hidden, and it's current, yeah, it's currently hidden. And I also marked this manual check for the video caption as okay. You saw me do that earlier in the session. So you have a log of every issue that's been dismissed by a user. Sometimes they dismissed it and it wasn't actually, shouldn't have been dismissible. So you can see what was dismissed and when and by whom. The other thing that you can do is just download this whole page as a CSV. And that's helpful because this is essentially an accessibility audit in some way of the content in your book. So that's the editorially dashboard and what appears here. In order for results to be logged to this particular viewer, you have to view a given chapter in the visual editor. Opening in the editor won't log things here. So that's a current limitation or a known issue with how the integration works. You got to view the chapter as a logged in user. And once you do, this log or this issues database will be updated. I'm going to pause there and say that's kind of the demo that I wanted to show, and I'll take any questions, I guess, about what editorially is, how it works in Pressbooks, and how this could be used by authors to make more accessible content.
Still, one of the questions that came up from Abby, how long do dismissals stay available in the recent dismissals section on the dashboard?
They stay there indefinitely. So the more recent ones will appear at the top, but dismissals will be there always, as far as I know. Thanks, Anna. Good question. Yeah, Miguel. So yes, editorially will work with other languages. The things that it's checking, the rules that it's checking are not English specific. So you ought to be able to perform the same kind of content checks, heading level checks, broken links, links opening in a new tab, image alt text missing, no matter what language the book is written in. Lindsay asked, does editorially also review H5P? Well, to some extent, yes, and in other ways, no. So again, the checks that it's going to perform are checks inside of the Pressbooks content pane. So if you have a heading or multiple headings inside your H5P, I believe those are checked and scanned. But there are other components of the H5P like color contrast and other kinds of things that you may have made choices about that editorially won't flag. If you're looking for a better accessibility checker of the H5P, the H5P caretaker tool is what we'd really recommend for that. And we can share more details about that maybe in the chat or outside of this meeting. It's a pretty nice tool that's just been built as an open source tool to help you check the accessibility and usability of individual H5P activities. Thanks for that question, Lindsay. I think we're working on bringing a version of that into the Pressbooks interface too. I think Mitch is here. Mitch and my colleagues, Mitch and Thomas, have written a guide chapter in our user guide that describes many of the things that I just covered here. I don't have that ready to hand. Mitch might find it faster than I will, but I wanted to link to that. It's going to be this chapter here. I'll just drop a link in the chat. This is our current guide chapter for authors about using editorially in Pressbooks, which covers many of the things that I talked about, what the alerts are, how they work, how you can view the book level reports. And then there's a short video version of my demo that's there at the bottom.
Ms. Steele, we've had a couple of other questions in the chat from Miguel. Does this work with other languages like French?
Yes, we answered Miguel's question earlier. Yes, so it
Great.
does.
Sorry, I apologize.
Abby has a new question, which is, have you had feedback and reactions from authors without a lot of background in accessibility work? Yeah, that's primarily who this tool was designed for and is intended to work with. I think we've heard mostly positive responses saying, oh yeah, like this is helpful. I don't understand accessibility really well, but I want to do a better job. And being in plain language with specific steps for how to fix has been very helpful for most users. There are some people I think that still feel frustrated, like, well, how do I change a heading? I didn't know what a heading is. I don't know. And so there's some user education that happens, but the questions that they're asking are much more focused and specific now. And they have a rationale in most cases why they want to adjust this rather than, I've heard accessibility should be better. How? So I do think this does help kind of move accessibility into the creation workflow for most new creators. Obviously, there's always going to be user learning that needs to happen and some education. We are doing user interview and user research. Michelle, my colleague Michelle, has been leading that. I don't know if she's here, if we have details about those research sessions. Julie, do we have more information to share about people that want to participate in user research about this?
Yes, so we are going to be posting a link for surveys as a banner message that will start appearing, I think, later this week or early next week. We're interested in particular in getting some user feedback from authors who are using it in their tool set. And so we're going to start by just putting a little banner message in that people can click away from, but inviting them to take a short survey and tell us how they're doing. That will appear only for people where we know it's been activated and they've had some interaction with editorially. If we don't get enough takers from the banner message, then we may send out some selective emails to folks. Again, this is all very voluntary. And then based on the survey results, we may reach out to some people and ask if they'd be willing to do a deeper dive interview. We do actually pay like a $25 thank you for your time for a deeper dive interview, but we're going to start with just a general survey. If by chance you or somebody you know has kind of burning feedback that you want to provide, send a note to premium support or to any of us on the call, and we can certainly connect them with Michelle and make sure that we are listening. So we're eager to hear that feedback.
Thank you for all your questions. The only other thing that I'd want to stress is, I think it's many of us are aware, accessibility is an ongoing journey. It's an ongoing commitment. And just because editorially, so what I didn't show, I probably should show, is an example of a chapter that no longer has any issues. So it is possible to get a chapter where you don't have any known issues. So let me share my screen briefly and show that. I think the acknowledgement was one of those places. When all the issues are resolved, you're going to see a blue check mark. And that just simply means there are no manual checks or outstanding issues remaining. The thing to remember is this will feel good. This should feel good. Hey, good. There's no automatically detected issues here. This doesn't guarantee, obviously, that the chapter is fully accessible and inclusive to all users. Accessibility, there's always things to learn, and there may be other things that editorially didn't flag or check. So we don't want to, you shouldn't rely on this as a guarantee that your books are fully accessible and will meet every user's needs. But what this does do is it does help authors find and fix common accessibility issues that are within their power to control. If you are aware of barriers that prevent learners from accessing Pressbooks content or material, some of that may be our responsibility. And if you do find accessibility issues that aren't caught by editorially, please do report them to us. We will take them seriously. We do work to fix and improve accessibility regularly. And we understand that accessibility is a large holistic category that is never just a blue check mark that an automated checker can find. It's about making sure that people with varying different levels of ability can use and access the content that you've created for them. And so it's an art rather than a checklist. We understand that, and we hope that you and your authors will also understand and embody that.
Steele, in the chat, Jamie just asked if you could repeat the does it work with H5P content answer.
Yeah. So the editorially checker will check everything inside of the Pressbooks content flow, including embedded activities. There are things, however, in H5P activities that editorially will not check, and you'll have better results probably if you use the H5P caretaker tool. We can share some more information about that. It's an open source standalone tool that lets you upload an H5P activity, and it will check for a number of both accessibility and usability issues. It's supplementary to this. I think that's probably your better experience for the details of a specific H5P activity. But all of the checks that editorially performs, I believe, are also performed on embedded H5P activities in the chapter, in the rendered content.
Okay, thanks, Steele. If there's no more questions about that, I'll get to the my portion, the reason you really joined today to find out. No, just joking. But just a little bit about the accessibility authoring tool and the add-on pricing. As Julie mentioned, we decided to make this an add-on because some people have already got their accessibility process in the works or in use and are paying for a tool already. And we just wanted to highlight that we do incur extra costs to develop, support, and maintain the common problems that are available within this solution. We had to work with the developers to make this usable in a multi-site format. So that was a great experience for our development team as well. So we've incurred modest fees, and we want to offset those costs by adding. So it's $299 a year for a single network, or $499 a year for a shared network. It allows unlimited usage of the tool across the network, and it will be available not every book on your network once you activate the tool. And because we didn't want to have separate one-time invoices go out mid-year, for your convenience, we can prorate the cost after the tool becomes live as a paid product on November 5th. So we can prorate the cost for the remainder of the current year and add that to your renewal mid-year. So like I said, it's available now as a free trial. You can have your network manager opt in. So as a network manager, you can opt in by sending a note to either your account manager, Darren or I. So that's easily john@pressbooks.com or darren@pressbooks.com, or send an email to our premium support line. But the tool can also be activated by a banner. So I'm just going into a network that hasn't had the tool activated yet. And this is the network manager view. And you can see now that Pressbooks users, there's an announcement here, a banner that's available with information leading to information about the accessibility authoring tool. And they can click just enable now. So we've had a number of network managers who have done that on your network already. That's as easy as it is. So either from within the app or by just sending an email, and we'll activate it for you. Like was mentioned, during the free trial, we will solicit feedback so that is an improved user experience. And after the free trial, network managers can opt in to keep it on for a fee or make the decision to discontinue use.
So John, one thing that I will just add to that is the account managers will be reaching out. So if you have activated it, you will hear from your account manager to check in and see how it's done, and just look out for an email. Also checking in, do you want to keep it on or do you want to deactivate? And so we've had a few questions about how is that going to work if I activate it. Does that mean that I'm automatically going to get charged? And we will check with you on that before we proceed.
Julie and John, there was a question in the chat from Lindsay who asked, what's the anticipated timeline for the link checker and admin panel?
Good questions. The link checker, we are actually in the next 2 weeks going to be starting a sort of a limited pilot. And so you'll be hearing from us if you're interested in being part of that to help us test that out. We are hoping to have both that and then the accessibility monitoring tool available by the end of this calendar year. There's some of the behind the scenes kind of scanning functionality that allows you to scan multiple books and not negatively impact the performance of your network. There's a common architecture that both the broken link checker and the accessibility monitoring tool will be using, and we're about ready to start testing that with the broken link checker tool, and then the accessibility monitoring tool will come close behind that. And in each case, we anticipate doing offering some type of free trial like we have with the authoring tool. I don't think for the other two it will be use it free for for a month for everything. Like with the accessibility monitoring, or sorry, the broken link checker tool, our first kind of trial pilot is basically saying you can try it for scan up to 20 books, up to 20 scans. And so, which can be, the same book 20 times, or it could be, scan 20 different books. As we're kind of staging and testing performance, that's the first level of, try this out. And then we may extend that as we're kind of getting our understanding of how it performs at scale. And so there will be a window where, we say, okay, here's how you can try this out, with X number of scans, or, X number of days where it's open. But we want to make sure that people have a chance to try those out and figure out, is this something that would be beneficial for us? Will those additional tools incur additional add-on fees, and will these be packaged as a deal? Thank you for that question, Tracy. Yes, those are also add-on tools. Again, we're kind of we're incurring additional costs as we are developing these capabilities and supporting them over time. We do anticipate, though, offering a package deal, so that if you say, yes, I want all of them, it would be more cost effective than kind of a la carte. For both of the kind of scan tools, the broken link checker tool and the accessibility monitoring tool, both of those we anticipate having more of a tiered pricing model, because the impact and the cost ramps up on those proportional to the number of books the number of books that might be scanned or might be used. We are committed to making those as affordable as possible, but part of what we're still understanding is, with this architecture, what is the true cost impact, and then how does that translate into a pricing model that makes sense. So we will have more about that as we bring those to market. Obviously, we'll have the kind of the pricing details and a pricing structure that makes sense. And you'll have full visibility into that as you're trying those out, and as you can decide if that's something that you want to do. I think to that point, as we are understanding the pricing structure and the kind of the cost implication, we may also come to you and ask, we know that the pricing changes with volume, and so tiered pricing is a natural way to do that. There's also been on the table the option of saying, okay, so X number of scans, and just saying, so you buy like a bucket of 500 scans or something like that, and we're still working through the kind of the specifics, but want to make sure that the pricing structure is going to be something that's functional and makes sense for you, and doesn't require too much bean counting on your part of kind of where are we in terms of what we've purchased and so forth. And so again, we're still exploring that. This is a little bit new territory, but we will certainly seek some input and validation with how we approach that. One more thing that I will do is sort of a plug. Some of you are here and we see you regularly at our monthly product update sessions. Some of you are not able to come as regularly, or maybe you haven't come yet to our product update sessions. Those monthly sessions, we do often talk about stuff like this, and may seek input, have lots of opportunity for asking questions and discussion. And so if that's something that you aren't going to but would be interested in, please come. We are definitely going to have more to share on these kinds of things over the next couple of months. And so look out for those events, and please join us if you can. Question or comment from Tracy. I'm at UF in the libraries, and we have a shared license through the Center for Teaching Excellence. Could we get our own license, or would it have to go through a larger umbrella and be under a larger tier? Thank you. That's a really good question, Tracy. Right now, we have these tools, or at least the accessibility authoring tool is activated at the shared network level and would need to be activated for the network as a whole. And but one of the things we've had a few questions specifically about this. So I think this is one of those things that as we hear more from folks that are in that situation and understand more about what the challenges and limitations and preferences would be, we can decide whether we do need to build that ability for individual networks within a shared network to activate these tools. Our goal, and certainly you see this with the pricing structure that we do with the accessibility authoring tool, where we've tried to make it not penalize folks in shared networks too much by making it really cost effective to do at the shared network level. But this is something that has been raised a few other places as well. And so right now it is at the shared network level. And our hope is that we'd be able to work that out and just make that tool, make these capabilities widely available and have it be affordable for everybody on the network. But if we start running into more obstacles there, we certainly have the ability to bring that to a more granular level of activation. Of course, the challenge there is then it is definitely more cost effective to do it. There's more economies of scale to do it at the shared network level as opposed to individual networks. But we can, as we understand more about that, we'll figure out what makes sense.
Julie, one of the questions came in from Karen. Will you consider extending the deadline for trial maybe until the end of the year? And yes, we can't extend a network-wide trial, but we're happy to set up on an individual book basis a free trial so that you can play with the tool and get a picture of its value. So just connect with your account manager, premium support. They'll work with us to set that up.
Yeah, I mean, from my point of view, the more authors using this, the better it is for the authors, for the readers, for everybody. So our goal is really to get this in the hands of as many people as would use it. Hopefully the pricing is not a barrier. It's for most people a small fraction of the annual expense, and we hope that it stays that way.
All right, we are a couple minutes past time. I think the Pressbooks folks can stay on a little bit longer if there are any final questions, but otherwise, thank you so much for being here. I think we're going to be getting the recording posted if anybody wants to watch it after the fact. So look for that on our YouTube. Thanks, everybody.